Record it to me. All right, welcome, everybody coming in from different places around the country to join us here tonight on our community Zoom and our community meeting that we have every single Thursday evening. If you're joining us, we have everyone in all different walks of life, different areas of health right now. So some of you are in the middle of a weight loss phase. Some of you are optimizing your health. Some of you are in transition. There's all different areas that you may be coming in from, and I'm just glad you're here. Some of you might be visiting, and maybe you don't know anything about Optavia, but you get to have a little picture of what's going on right here, so it'll be really fun. So to get us started, does anyone have some non-scale victories that are going on, or scale victories?
Well, Joe, my daughter was massaging my neck yesterday, and she was able to put her fingers all the way around. And she's like, "Oh, a non-scale victory, Mom!"
You have a neck that can be strangled. How wonderful.
Right? She was super excited. She could put her fingers all the way around.
That's amazing. Hooray. That's a great non-scale victory. Thanks, Annalie. Who else has had something, a win from the week?
Okay, I'll say something. So I got my box of food, of fuelings, and there were some freebies in the box, and one of them sounded kind of weird. It was like buttermilk and cheddar biscuit, and I was kind of leery. I was gonna send it back, but I tried it. It's actually not bad. So I tried a bunch of different things, and I find that most of them are okay. There was one of them that I didn't like the first time, but but then I had it again, and it was okay. Getting into the routine. In fact, I'm retired, so I wake up a little bit late, so I have to kind of scramble at the end of the day to get the fifth one in.
You know what?
As much. I usually go down at 11 and watch TV for a while.
Well, that's awesome, Mark. So what you found is it's doable, totally doable and acceptable. And many of us have done it for a long time. So I actually took me about 5 months utilizing the fuelings to lose my weight. But I'm excited about today because we are actually going to talk about what it looks like after weight loss. And that's moving away, where you're dropping out the fuelings and moving more towards the whole foods. And it gets really exciting. So I just wanted to take a second, and I'm going to mute you. Let me see if I can do this. You guys are going to bear with me here. I'm going to pull open the chat screen, and oh no, that was the wrong thing to do. Well, who knows how to do this? But at some point, oh there, maybe this. Yes, mute all. I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. There we go. And we can have more discussion. And in fact, if you're engaged in the conversation and you have something to share or you want to say something, unmute yourself and just start yelling at me and I'll stop talking. It'll be great. So today, I'm going to just share my screen for a second. We're going to kind of go through what to expect when you are entering a new phase, and that is life beyond transition. Okay. So they're beyond transition, and if you'll notice on this picture, you'll see some fruit. Apples, bananas, all those things. And if you're currently in a weight loss phase, those items are not on your menu, but they will be. I'm going to take a second just to introduce myself. My name is Jo Lambert, and this is my story. About 3 years ago, I lost 65 pounds in 5 months. Before I got started on program, I had 6 children, and I had suffered from multiple health issues, some more private than others, but certainly I had low energy. I was sitting on the couch a lot. My knees hurt, my back hurt. I struggled a great deal with my weight and my self-image. And luckily and happily, I connected with Dixie, who's my coach, and she showed me a better way. And now I've maintained my healthy weight for 3 years. And in the interim, we had a beautiful blessing of having our 7th baby. And that picture of me holding, just having delivered our 7th little guy, I was just at the very pinnacle of my health. That pregnancy was just a totally different experience than any of my other pregnancies. And it was because of Optavia and because of that health, that a new healthy way of life I was able to learn. So let's say you've got to your healthy weight and you've transformed. I've transformed, but now what? Well, I want to remind you of some of the habits that we've been instilling into you through the process of this transformation. Number 1, you're eating 6 times a day. That is a habit that is well established and should be well established. It's not going away. That habit's staying there. You're drinking 64 to 100 ounces of water, depending on your needs. If you don't know what your water needs are, definitely talk to your coach. But it's going to be somewhere in that range. It's usually about half your body weight in ounces is the needed amount. Third, you have that lean and green down pat. So you are, very skilled. Every day you've done a lean and green. If you were doing 5 and 1, 4 and 2, whatever program you were doing, you've been well versed in the lean and green meal, and you've become skilled now at creating a balanced lean and green meal every single day. The 4th habit that hopefully you have established is that you are connecting regularly with your coach and with the community. And that means webinars, your coach, you're checking in, you're communicating. If those 4 habits are in place, those are the same 4 habits we're going to be using throughout the rest of our optimization phase, which is the rest of your life. Isn't it cool? You guys get a coach for a lifetime. We all get a coach for a life. So weight loss phase, check. Fat burn, you did it. Transition phase, check. You did what, weeks 1 through 4 of transition, weeks 5 through 8, and if you've had a very large weight loss, you might have had weeks 8 through 12 of transition. And now we're entering into an optimization phase. What does optimization mean? That means you're learning to shift into a new pattern where you are still doing your 6 times a day eating, but you're going to be implementing a few more whole food items for a very balanced, nutritious diet that maintains a healthy weight. And your coach is well-versed to help you in these areas. The first thing you're going to be doing is you're going to be calculating your TEE. In Dr. A's Habits of Health, you're going to see how to do that. But we also have a TEE, Total Energy Expenditure Calculator, on our Optavia website. And again, your coach can definitely connect you to that if you don't know where to find it. And we're going to be implementing a 3 and 3 plan where you have 3 healthy meals each day, utilizing whole foods, and 3 fuelings each day, Optavia fuelings. You're going to be doing a weekly weigh-in, and you're going to make adjustments as you go. These are the key principles of an optimization phase. Now, have you ever had this question presented to you? What is your why? When you first started in on weight loss, we all had to discover, okay, why am I wanting this? Why? And you had to dig deep and discover what that was. And maybe you just said, well, I want more energy. And hopefully your coach asked you a deeper question and said, why do you want more energy? So that you could say, why do I want more energy? What kinds of things do I want to be doing? All these things. Well, you need to discover your why for optimizing your health. Because once you've gotten to your healthy weight, your tension is not there. That tension of like the structural tension is not there any longer. You need to find a new why. You need to have a new goal. So how do you want to show up? How do I want to feel? What do I want to be able to do now? Now that I have this healthy body, what do I want to do with it? How do I want to impact my fitness? What kinds of relationships do I want? And how do I want to show up in those relationships? What financial dreams do I have? All of these are going to impact the choices you make throughout this optimization phase. So I'm going to do a little educating here because I think it's really key to understand the categories that food falls into, healthy foods. And please forgive me for any kind of typos if I have any. I did this really quickly. So when you're eating from 4 different categories or 4 food groups, but they're not the 4 food groups that we're always taught in growing up. So I'm going to kind of go through these. You've got your healthy fats, okay, and you have proteins. Then you have low glycemic vegetables and healthy carbohydrates. Those are the 4 categories that food falls into. And I'm going to go into detail into some of these categories so that you have a really good understanding of them. Low glycemic vegetables. If you are on program, you definitely should understand what low glycemic vegetables look like. Cabbage, peppers, broccoli, you name it. It's pretty much lots of different veggies that just aren't starchy. And you can look those up on the glycemic indexes online. If you Google it, you can find a list of more low glycemic veggies. Healthy fats, avocados, olive oil, nuts, nut oils, fish oils, coconut oil, fat that's found in eggs, fat that's found in healthy grass-fed butter. So these are going to be your healthy fats. That's the category that this falls into. Proteins would be things like fish, eggs, harder cheeses, cottage cheese, whole plain Greek yogurt, nuts, seeds, and I put whole. Some of you love non-fat Greek yogurt. That's totally fine too. And that's actually a really great protein source. So if you want to be having the non-fat plain Greek yogurt, that's fine. Nuts, seeds, shrimp, chicken, beef, pork. These are all different sources of proteins. Okay, and you'll know that from your lean and green meal. And then healthy carbohydrates is this bigger group. And I like to categorize it into 5 areas. You have your whole grains. Notice white bread is not included. Neither are things like donuts or anything like that. But you've got your whole grains. Fruit is a healthy carbohydrate, FYI. Legumes, any kind of beans like starchy, well, they don't have to be starchy, but they're starchy vegetables is what they are. They are high in protein, but they fall under the category of healthy carbohydrates because they have a higher glycemic load. Okay, so these are all foods that have a higher glycemic load on your blood sugar. So things like kidney beans, black beans, black-eyed peas, pinto beans, refried beans. Starchy veggies, peas, potatoes, carrots, all those things that are the off the chart, off the list veggies when you are on a 5-in-1. And then milk or yogurt. Those are, setting aside the Greek yogurt, which is very, very high in protein. The regular yogurt tends to be higher in carbohydrates. So these 5 categories constitute your healthy carbohydrates. And so what does it look like? Okay, I put a clock in the middle because if you're on our program, you know exactly what this means. You're eating every 2.5 to 3 hours all day long. So what does that look like when you are in an optimization phase? Well, it might look something like this. You've got a healthy breakfast, some veggies and eggs. You'll notice there's a lean and green component. Do you see that lean and green component, the veggies and the eggs? And then you might have a whole grain toast or whole grain piece of bread, and that would be a healthy carbohydrate. Then you might have a snack of an Optavia fueling. And then at lunch, you're going to have a very lean and green based meal. You'll notice that there's other things in there like black beans. Those are healthy carbohydrates. So you're mixing in all these healthy carbohydrates that at the time of fat burn were off limits. And during transition, you were incorporating them bit by bit by bit. But now it's a bigger picture. And then you have maybe an afternoon snack of your Optavia fueling, and then you have that healthy dinner. And you'll notice in the picture I included, you have the protein, the veggie, and then you have a whole grain of quinoa, and then a late night snack of maybe the Optavia brownie. Those are super yummy, right? So this is a very generalized. I just want to give you first of all, this is very, 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 very generalized. This picture right here that I've included is ultra general. Why do I say that? Because every single body is so specific. Some bodies will need more calories to function, depending on how active you are or how inactive you are, how tall, whether you're a man or a woman, how old you are. There's so many factors that go into your total energy needs. And those energy needs need to be met in a way that balances your macronutrients. And so, of course, the Optavia fuelings are perfect for that. But we want to make sure you're getting the right number of carbs and proteins and fats. And so that's going to be the job of your coach. So connecting with your coach during this time when you're establishing a really solid plan is going to be key. And I just want to really emphasize portions matter. Okay. And I put this picture up here, and this is a very unhealthy meal, actually. You just have like potato fries and like some sort of fried meat option thing there. But you'll notice, if you're using a large plate, like a 12-inch plate or 13-inch plate, the quantities of food you eat are so much bigger. Compare that to the 9-inch plate. When you're eating your meals, I don't care what meal you're having, it should fit on a 9-inch plate, more or less. Okay, anything bigger than that, it's going to be too much, especially during optimization. So I want to talk a little bit on learning how to scale down your lean and green meal if needed. So some of my clients, when they get into optimization, they're like, I have one guy, he's really big, and not big like fat wise, but he's muscly and he's a runner and he does a lot of different lifting and he has a lot of needs. His intake is very high. He needs a lot of calories. So he's going to have 3 full lean and greens every day, plus a bunch of healthy carbs that are mixed in there. Okay. Let's say I'm working with a gal who's really petite. Maybe she's 120 pounds, 115 pounds. She's smaller. She probably won't even have 1 full lean and green. She'll have a smaller version of the lean and green meal. So you need to learn to scale down your lean and green meal when you shift into optimization. Not for all of them, but again, you have to connect with your coach because this is very, very specific to your needs and your individual requirements for calorie intake. But a full lean and green meal, we're all very familiar with what that is. It's 5 to 7 ounces of a lean meat. Oops, I have a little typo here, no big deal. It's about 40 to 60 grams of protein. It's 3 full servings of a low glycemic veggies, and then about 200 calories of a healthy fat. But your mini lean and green is going to be 3 to 5 ounces of a lean meat, which actually would be more like, 25 to 40 grams of protein, something like that. That's a little bit of a typo there. And then 2 servings of a low glycemic veggie and 100 calories of a healthy fat, more or less, approximately. Okay. So you're learning to scale down this meal for some of your meals. So some of my, optimization clients, they're having 1 full lean and green during one of their healthy meals. And then the other 2 meals are just smaller lean and greens. And then they're incorporating those healthy carbohydrates throughout the day. So we also need to learn what a true healthy carbohydrate portion would be. So just taking a look, I'm going to kind of give you an idea. It's approximately 100 calories or so, 100, 150 calories of whatever carbohydrate you're having. So whether it be some oats or quinoa, there's multiple ways to get that 100 calories of a healthy carbohydrate. It might be fruit. It might be a dairy. And you can even look at this. This document you see here, I can share on the page so that people have access to it. It just basically shows you some ideas that you can have that are starchy veggies or dairy or beans or legumes or dairy. It just gives you some options to understand what that healthy carbohydrate might look like. And generally speaking, a healthy carbohydrate is smaller than you think. So if you're ever serving yourself some carbohydrates, just think to yourself, it's smaller than I think. And that'll help you a lot. last little bit here before I open it up for discussion is stay connected. Staying connected, my clients who are in optimization, who are connected, are those that succeed. Those that disconnect are those that flip back to an old way of life. And of course, we in Optavia, we are all about changing to a new way of life, a new lifestyle that is a permanent way of life. But we know how hard it is. We live in a whole world of food, fast food on the go, grocery stores that sell more unhealthy food than healthy food. We're in a place where it's very, very hard to be healthy in the world that we live in. And so staying connected into a healthy community like what we have here is going to be the key to your success in the long term. Definitely talking to your health coach on a regular basis is part of that being connected. The Facebook support page, Together in Health, so awesome. You know, connecting in there, sharing your victories, sharing what you learn, but more importantly, supporting other people on their journey. When they post, you know, jump in there and support them, show them some love. The webinars, just like this one and the one on Wednesday night, Habits of Health webinar, those are all opportunities for you to stay connected and keep that in your mind, because the minute you start taking all those inputs, because your brain is like a computer, the more input you put into it, the more action you put out. So if you want healthy actions to come out, you got to put healthy in. And so that's where the continuing education and the webinars come in. These last two are my favorite personally. Become a coach. Start helping somebody. Help somebody onto their journey. Pay it forward a little bit. Help your neighbor, your friend, your family, your cousin, your uncle, your aunt. Help them on their journey to health. Because when you do that, that completely revolutionizes your life. I'll tell you what, being a coach for me has definitely put my accountability level like sky high. So do I ever think I'll regain my weight? Nope, I never will, because I'm serving so many people and they look to me as a leader in some respects. And then this last one, National Convention. I don't know if any of you know about National Convention, but Optavia National Convention is coming up July 19th through the 22nd. It's in St. Louis, beautiful St. Louis, and there's an entire client track. So if you are a client, it's for clients, it's for coaches, it's for business leaders, it's for all of us, and you get to rub shoulders with the best and brightest in the health coach arena. So an amazing opportunity to learn, to grow, to become part of that, this community. So amazing. Consistency is key. It's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently. So with that being said, I'm going to stop the share. And I want to take a second, and I want to have people ask questions, because I know there's going to be some questions about what I just shared. Does anyone have some questions?
Joe, I have a question.
Yeah.
So let's say we're in optimization. When should our clients or ourselves sound the alarm and go, oh my gosh, now, because it's natural to fluctuate in our weight, 2 or 3 pounds. So was it 5 pounds or a percentage of our total weight?
You know, it's going to be very personal, because depending on the size of the person, let's say somebody is a very petite woman. You know, if she fluctuates up 3 pounds, that's kind of a big deal. But if you're talking about a woman who's 6 feet tall and 165 pounds, fluctuating 5 pounds wouldn't even be that big of a deal, because she's so tall. And you know, it just depends on the height of the person, but it's going to be a personal decision when they have their own alarm bell going off. Certainly, if it goes over 5 pounds, I would alarm. I would be like, ding, 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 ding. I don't like to see that nudge too high. For me, I have about a 10-pound window that I kind of wiggle around in. It's like a little 7 to 10 pounds that just kind of wiggles. And that is that's normal for my body. And I know because I'm very athletic and I think my glycogen stores can be really big. Like I can have a lot of water storage with that. So I know my own body. So that's not abnormal for me. But for somebody else, that might be really abnormal.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Linda?
So following up on her question, saying, when to sound the alarm. So if you did gain a couple of pounds or whatever, that doesn't mean you go back and start eating fuelings, right? Like you would just probably cut back the amount of like carbohydrates you're getting or whatever in your diet on maintenance.
Right.
Good,
like
it wouldn't be a fallback to constantly yo-yo back to fuelings.
Absolutely. Well, of course, when you're on the 3 and 3 plan, you are utilizing fuelings.
Yeah.
So you always kind of have those in your life. Of course, I do have some people ask, hey, could I do all whole foods once I transition? Absolutely. And we have a whole list of ideas for healthy fuelings. And in fact, if you look in Dr. A's Habits of Health, you'll see a big list of 100-calorie fuelings that you can utilize. It just takes a great deal of prep. And me as a mother that's very busy, and most all of you are very busy, you have busy lives. And so doing that, all that prep for 6 full meals is too much. But just, it's nice to have those grab and go fuelings. Yes, I agree. If you see it bumping up 2 pounds, that just means, and if you're weighing yourself just once a week, I wouldn't say daily. Don't weigh yourself daily. That can be too much. But I would say, well, if you do weigh yourself daily, I'm not going to say it's too much. Some people like to do that. If you do it, just say once a week on Monday, that's the one that counts.
Yeah.
And just look at the Monday one, or look at whatever day you decide, but just look at it every 7 days. And if it bumped up 2 pounds after 7 days, give it another 7 days. And if it's back down again, you're like, oh, I'm good. But if it's still 2 pounds up and you're like, I don't like that, then take out some of the healthy carbs of your day. Mm-hmm. Stay on your maintenance plan, but just drop your carb load.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Now,
Joe, it wasn't really just a comment, but I just loved all your information, and I loved how you talked about, the representation of those 6 meals a day and how they can change depending on the person and the body. And I love that. And to stick close with your coach, because I know, like for me, I do better with my carbohydrates in the mornings, but not as well in the evenings. And so I just, and everybody's so different depending on their activity level and everything. So I love that you said, this is a guide, reach out and do that. But great information tonight. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Stacy. Yeah, this is the part where you have to connect with your coach most heavily. I would say, just reach out and be connected, understand what your plan is, and your coach will help you individualize as needed. And, but yeah, thank you, Stacy. Anything else? Any other comments or questions? I do want to address something, because I get this question from my clients. When do I get to eat donuts? When do I get to eat brownies? Yeah? Do you ever have a thought of that? Is there a place for sweets? Is there a place for having a treat? Because I didn't mention that in our optimal health plan. And we can definitely have probably a very long discussion on this. But here are my thoughts. Yes, there's a place for sweets. Yes, there's a place for treats, if you can handle it. And I say if you can handle it because for some of us, and I'm going to include myself in that mix, it can be hard. Sometimes it's sort of like the levee breaks, like you have 1 or 2 and then it just turns into way more than you had planned. And then it turns into a couple days of having a few extra things. And then you're like, man, I'm just spiraling out of control here. This isn't good. And that also isn't good. And that's actually when you want to connect to your coach the most, is when you're starting the spiral, at the beginning of the spiral, and start leaning in instead of going away from the community when you're kind of spiraling. That's when you lean in more. You watch more webinars, up your ante. There's all the recorded webinars. You could go in and watch those for days and years. But just jump in and start filling the brain, educate yourself, learn about it, start motivating yourself with that education and with your coach and with the community, and start getting on there and seeing people living their lives out loud and living their their journeys, their health journeys, and be inspired, and then recognize you have a reason why too. And I want reality to hit. I'm not perfect. I never have been perfect. I lost 65 pounds with the help of the community and the health coach. And I've been maintaining that solely because I have this community, because there's been times and within my recent past that I have totally spiraled out and been like, oh, what did I just do? I don't know why I did that. That's not healthy. But hopefully you're in a range of health. See, I'm doing my learning is happening in the 150 zone pound, which for me, I'm a very tall woman, and that's a good place for me to be. My learning is happening there instead of at the 220 pound range. Does that make sense? And so we're all going to be still learning and on a journey, and we're still going to stumble, and we're still going to have bumps and bruises and things like that, but it needs to happen in a place that's a healthy place. And so I don't know if that's a good answer, but recognizing that you don't have to be embarrassed if you struggle, because we all struggle, don't we? Yes, coaches out there, we all struggle. We're all in this together, and that's why we're here, so that we can rock this world and live the lives we want to live with the health that we want. And hopefully this has been of use to you guys. Any other comments or questions before we say goodbye? Oh, Dagmar, we can't hear you. Are you asking something? Just a minute. Dagmar?
Oh, yeah. Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not really on the weight loss program, so it's a little different maybe, but would you say, I mean, with brownies, you can just refer the people to the brownies from Optavia, right? They're pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to have a treat, have an Optavia brownie.
Yeah, and they have delicious cookies, and you can make them into cheesecake that actually taste better than actual cheesecake by putting some Greek yogurt with them.
Yes.
I struggle because I like to eat too. Just a second, you can do for me. But I think, I'm sure I tell people sometimes, like, well, you could do a little bit, but the problem, like you indicated, is a little bit is really hard to stop. And it's the same, what I struggle with, I love chocolate chips, even the very dark. So I can, in principle, have as a healthy fat dark chocolate chips. I noticed that those bags are gone very quickly. There's definitely not the tablespoon I'm supposed to eat. And so, I exercise a lot, so it doesn't really matter too much, but still, it's not something I would recommend to anyone. I think it's mostly to help them learn to appreciate different kinds of food, and just because I think over time they will not even like the donuts anymore and the real brownies. They will like the Optavia brownies and think like the normal ones won't even taste any good anymore because they make you sick.
Yeah, and they do, and you will find you'll get so sick with those. Dagmar, that is a great suggestion. I love it. When we are running into desires to have sweets, that's really a handy tool to have those Optavia fuelings, because those really do kind of satisfy that sweetness, and they're balanced in their macros. So thank you so much. Sarah?
So just one more thing, there's a new healthy exchange list, and that's really helpful. You know how you gave the serving sizes? It breaks down a lot of things. There are a lot of things on there that I haven't seen on that aren't in the Habits of Health book. So quinoa's
That's a great tip. The healthy exchange list is, if you go to answers.optavia.com and type in healthy exchange, you'll find that list. So answers.optavia.com.
And they've redone it, so it's great now. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Well, with that, we're going to just close up, and thank you so much for joining us this week, and we will connect next week again. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.